Welcome back to Introduction to Abnormal Psychology. This is Module 1, Lecture 6. In today's lecture, we will be discussing the humanistic model of psychological abnormality. The humanistic model is an interesting one because its development and application have addressed the drawbacks of the models we've discussed so far, the biological model, the psychodynamic model, and the cognitive behavioral model. Humanistic theorists believe that both the biological and cognitive behavioral models are too simplistic and narrow to fully explain the rich complexity of human experience. On the other hand, they believe that while the psychodynamic model does a better job trying to engage with the whole person, not just their neurotransmitter levels or their cognitive distortions, the psychodynamic theorists are nonetheless too negative. They focus only on the difficult part of human existence, disruptions in early relationships, conflicts, loss, etc. And so the humanists were dissatisfied with the psychodynamic model as well. When Freud's followers, Alfred Adler and Carl Jung, broke from Freud in order to develop their own versions of psychoanalytic theory, they both pursued study of aspects of human experience that are decidedly more positive than anything Freud ever talked about. Adler was very interested in looking at how individual people contributed to the well-being of other individuals and to society as a whole. Jung was very interested in understanding goal setting and achievement. These two theorists never turned fully away from psychoanalytic theory, and in fact they remained psychoanalytic theorists throughout their careers. Nonetheless, the positive aspects of their theories did bring about a change that led to the development of the humanistic model. Humanistic theorists believe that all people are essentially good and whole, and that a primary goal of human experience is to fully self-actualize. That is, to achieve one's fullest potential as a human being in all areas of life. Humanistic theorists believe that all people need is the freedom to grow, and they will achieve self-actualization. However, when barriers are imposed on their growth from the external world, they are not able to self-actualize, and instead, their growth is blocked and results in the experience of psychological abnormality. Abraham Maslow emerged as one of the earliest humanist theorists. He's best known for his concept called the hierarchy of needs, which is always drawn in a pyramid shape. According to Maslow, the hierarchy of needs represents all the areas of need that must be fulfilled in order for a person to achieve their maximum potential. The most fundamental needs, those at the base of the pyramid, are such needs as adequate food, clothing, and shelter. In the middle of the pyramid are such needs as safety and supportive relationships. Self-actualization is found at the very top of the pyramid, and according to Maslow, self-actualization cannot occur unless all the needs below it are met. Another famous humanistic theorist is Carl Rogers, who's known for developing person-centered therapy. Rogers believed that all people must receive what he called unconditional positive regard from early important people in life. Most often, these are parents or other primary caregivers. He defined unconditional positive regard as showing an infant or small child total unconditional love, support, and acceptance, no matter how that child may behave. Rogers believed that when babies and young children receive unconditional positive regard from their caregivers, they develop unconditional self-regard, the total and unconditional acceptance of themselves. This allows them to self-actualize, to reach their full potential as adults. Rogers believed that if unconditional positive regard is not present in a child's early life, they will instead develop conditional self-regard, which is the belief that they are only worthy as human beings if they follow particular rules. He believed this creates a major barrier to adult development and prevents self-actualization. Instead of self-actualizing, the person will become stuck and will likely experience some form of psychological abnormality. Drawing on this theory, Rogers developed a treatment known as person-centered therapy. This form of therapy focuses on the relationship that develops between the therapist and the client. The therapist's responsibility is to provide unconditional positive regard toward the client, which presumably the client did not receive as a child, which then led to their psychological disorder. The therapist is warm, accepting, understanding, and genuine toward the client, providing the relationship and experience the client missed out on. Demonstration of unconditional positive regard toward the client allows the client to develop the unconditional self-regard that has been missing. In this way, the relationship between the therapist and client allows for psychological healing and continued growth and self-actualization of the client. The humanistic model has many strengths. It fills in a large gap left by the biological, psychodynamic, and cognitive behavioral models. It presents a far more growth-oriented and optimistic view of human experience. Its focus on self-actualization, self-acceptance, personal values, goals, and meaning are all very important areas of struggle for people who have psychological disorders. Person-centered therapy has provided for a great deal of research into the therapeutic relationship between the therapist and the client, which prior to its development had not been systematically studied. These are all strengths of the model. One major drawback, however, is that it is difficult to study the concepts that are so important to this model. As a result, there is very little research supporting the validity of the humanistic model of psychological abnormality, which is a clear weakness when comparing it to the biological and cognitive behavioral models, both of which boast a large research base. That concludes Lecture 6. In our next lecture, we will look at sociocultural and multicultural models of psychological abnormality.